Okay, good morning, everybody. Good morning. And we're on Lamed Zayin Amud Beis, about 4 lines. Is that? I'm sorry, is Ruben on? Ruben's not on, no. Okay.
What? Dr. Fine, like usual, he's there. He's there. Oh, it's early. It's late for him. 5 o'clock. What, what's later?
Look what your daughter did for me.
Whoa. Rebar, right?
No rebar. Your daughter works at rebar?
Yeah, she works at but she was at the place?
The cookie place.
Oh, she was there today.
So Lamed Zayin Amud Beis on the bottom, 4 lines up, and the subject is about which mitzvahs are in Eretz Yisrael, Chutz La'aretz, and the general rule was that the agricultural laws are only in Eretz Yisrael. And the commission spoke about exceptions. It said that Orla and Klein are even in Chutz La'aretz, and there's machlokus about Chodesh. And we came out that Tanakam is the one that says that Chodesh does not apply in Chutz La'aretz, and Rabbi Lezer is the one who says that it does. And the Gemara brought that into the machlokus about the word Moshav. When it says Moshav Pasechem, does it mean any place where you live, even in Chutz La'aretz, which is going to be what Rabbi Lezer holds. And Tanakam says Moshavos means even in Eretz Yisrael only after it's settled. And the Gemara is taking it from there. 4 lines up. Lamed Zayin Amud Beis. Bishlam al-Madam Moshe v'kol makom shatim Yoshua mashma. According to, we'll say Rabbi Lezer, that holds that Moshe implies any place that you live, which means even Chutz La'aretz. Hanu d'chsev vayachlu me'avur ha'aretz mimachar basa Pesach. Here it's about when Am Yisrael came into Eretz Yisrael and Yeshua. Pasuk in Yeshua, when Am Yisrael came into Eretz Yisrael, they crossed the Yarden. So it says that they ate of the grain on Machar Pesach. Pasuk says here, Yeshua Perakei. So it says that they ate the Chadash in Machar Pesach, which sounds like they will be keeping Chadash. And they waited until Machar Pesach, the second day of Pesach, which the Omer is Matir, the Chadash. Avur means tvua. It means it's not a regular word, not a usual word, from the tvua of the land on the day after Pesach. And the mashmos is it's very much mashma that they'd have to wait for the 16th of Nisan in order to eat it, and before that they didn't eat it. Why not? Because it was Esech Chadash. Alma, top of the page. Alma Ikruv Omer, that they waited until the Omer was brought and then they ate, because there was a Din Chadash. The Din Chadash says Yimosh Vosechem, and it means any place, even Chutz La'aretz, and there was the Din of Chadash already. So when they came into Eretz Yisrael, they had to be careful on the Din of Chadash, and they waited until the Omer in order to eat the new Tvua. If Yidash Mosh Vosechem means that even in Eretz Yisrael you're not chayiv until after it was settled, which means 14 years after the conquest and the division. So they had no reason to wait. They could have eaten right away. Why did they crossed the Yarden on the 10th of Nisan. Pasuk says so. They crossed the Yarden on the 10th of Nisan, and it says they didn't eat it until the 16th of Nisan. Why did they wait 6 more days? If you hold that it's Aser right away, and if you say Moshe Vosechem means Chutz La'aretz, then it doesn't say that only after Yerusha v'Yeshiva. It just says it's also Chadash all over. So as soon as they came into Eretz Yisrael, not after Yisrael, even Chutz La'aretz, they would have had the Yisrael Chadash when they came in, and maybe they had no Tvua when they came before they came into Eretz Yisrael. But when they came in, they could have eaten. They could have not. 1 second, I forgot what I said. I forgot why that was the sentence. But if the Yisrael Chadash is not limited to only after Yerusha v'Yeshiva, the Issa was even before. So then as soon as they came, they weren't allowed to eat. They had to wait until 16th of Nisan. But if the Pasuk Moshe Vosechem means that it's not Asr until after it's settled, they weren't settled. It took another 14 years until they got settled. So they could have eaten the Chodesh right away. Why did they wait 6 more days until Machar Pesach? They could have eaten it the first day. Kash is good? They came to Eretz Yisrael on the 10th of Nisan. They didn't eat the Chadash until the 16th. Why? It sounds like because there was Esech Chadash. If you say Moshe Vosechem means only after Yerusha v'Yeshiva, it wasn't settled yet. They could have eaten it right away. The Gemara answers, it just happened to be they didn't eat it. It wasn't because they waited. They waited because they wanted to eat it, but they couldn't eat it because they had to wait for the Omer. They still had supplies, so they didn't have to eat the new Tvua until the 16th of Nisan, because then that's when it ran out. And now the Gemara is going to go on to explain the psukim that say that they didn't need to eat it until the 16th of Nisan. So the Gemara's answer is that they didn't have a halachic restriction; they just didn't need it. Tichsiv, Bnei Yisrael achlu esaman arba'im shana ad lo'im al eretz no Shabbos esaman achlu ad lo'im al eretz Canaan. Pasuk in the Torah, it says, if you want the place where it says it, here it is in Shmos 16:35. Oh, you say it. It says Bnei Yisrael ate the month. The pasuk is projecting ahead of time that the Bnei Yisrael ate the month for 40 years till they came to a settled land. The month they ate, and they came till the edge of Eretz Canaan. So the Gemara is going to dash in this pasuk.
That was in the Yeshua.
That was the pasuk. The pasuk, it means in Yeshua, but it says it in the Torah. The Torah is ready saying the future that they can eat it until they come to Eretz Yisrael. And the Gemara is now figuring out the pasuk that it says till they came to a settled land, and then till they came to the edge. And the Gemara takes it to mean that the edge of Eretz Canaan was not yet settled land. Yevshalom rad bo malaris nashava shekvar nemal kseres Canaan. Yevshalom al kseres Canaan shekvar nemal bo malaris nashava. The Gemara makes it a contradiction that Eretz Nashavas means a settled land was not the Ktsei. As soon as they came into the edge of Eretz Yisrael, it was not yet Eretz Nashavas. So the Gemara makes a contradiction out of the same pasuk. In the same pasuk, it says they ate it until they came to a settled land. And it says they came until they came to the edge of Eretz Canaan, which sounds like not the same place. How do you reconcile the pasuk within the same sentence? Okay, so how would you reconcile the pasuk?
It wasn't settled, so it doesn't make sense.
Right. The one understands that Eretz Canaan was not yet settled. Right. The answer is B'Shiva Ba'ada Meis Moshe Upasak Man Milei. When they came to Eretz Canaan, that's when Moshe died, and the month stopped. So the pasuk says they ate the man until they came to Eretz Canaan, because it means that the month stopped, but they still had man. It didn't stop eating it. It stopped falling, but they didn't stop eating it. They had enough. The supplies lasted until the 16th of Nisan. And that's the Gemara's answer. That why 16th of Nisan? Because Hashem made that it shall last until the 16th of Nisan.
Which is a miracle, because every day that they kept it over the next
day. Usually it got warm right there. But here there's a miracle that it stayed from the 7th of Adar until the 16th of Nisan. So the verse here doesn't say why did it stay till the 16th of Nisan. It could have been because according to the Mandama, because they weren't allowed to eat the Chodesh until the 16th. But here the Gemara is saying it doesn't have to be necessarily Hashem. For some reason, he kept them on until the 16th. It could have been that Hashem could have made it until the 10th of Nisan, until they crossed the Yarden, and then they could have eaten the new Tfuah. But for some reason, Hashem wanted the month to last another 6 days. Altogether, it lasted from Zayin Adar until the 16th of Nisan, and then they partook of the new Tfuah that was growing in Eretz Yisrael because they had no one left. But the Gemara is happy to say that it wasn't because there was Issa Chadash. It could be there was no Issa Chadash. The reason why they didn't eat the Tfuah is because they didn't need to. They still had money in their supplies. Agav, the Gemara brought a pasuk to show that the Brisa mentions they ate it until the 16th.
I didn't know that they went right after Moshe died. The next month they went right after.
Right, the Gemara is going to say that right away, that in the Gemara Dashins of Psukim, that Moshe died and they were available for 30 days, and then they waited 3 days to cross, and then they came with Eretz Yisrael. The one makes the cheshbon coming up right away. That's going to be coming up. And now we got some extra credit. The kasha was.
And that's how we know the 10th?
How do we know what? The 10th? The 10th, it says in the pasuk that they crossed on the 10th. That's a pasuk in Yeshua.
Oh, okay.
And that they ate on the 16th is also a pasuk. It says they ate at Machash Pesach. The ones are wondering why. Why did they wait till the 16th? Why didn't they eat it right away? And the Gemara says because they didn't need to. The Brisa that it brings down doesn't necessarily say that they happened not to need to. The Brisa says that they had the mun lasted, not that it was falling, not that the mun was falling down. They had since the 7th of Adar, and it stayed fresh until the 16th of Nisan. But the Gemara is not bothered to say that they just happened. Hashem gave it to them. We don't know why Hashem gave it to them. Hashem could have stopped the one staying fresh. They could have finished their supplies on the 10th of Nisan because they came with Eretz Yisrael and there was tfuah available. But Hashem wanted it to go on to the 16th, and they then partook of the tfuah of the land because they had no more left. The one was already gone. But not because halachically they needed it. And the Gemara leaves it at a valid machlokis if it was also to eat the new tfuah until the 16th, or there was no issue yet because the Issa Chodesh didn't start until Yerusha Yeshiva another 14 years. Now we got some more extra credit, the bonuses of a couple of more brises about issues of the related issues. Tanya Idach, another brisa, Ubnei Yisrael Lachlu Asamon Arba'im Shana, the same pasuk we just mentioned. Ubnei Yisrael ate a month for 40 years, and this brisa has different kasha. We spoke about the end of the 40 years. From Zayin Adar, the Moshe Dag, we just spoke about that. We said that the month lasted, when it stopped falling, it lasted another what is it, 6 weeks from Zayin Adar until the 16th of Nisan. But there's another price that has another problem. They eat it a full 40 years. They ate it 30 days less. Why is that? Rashi points out because when did the month start? It's finished on the 16th. They finished eating it on the 16th of Nisan when they came into Eretz Yisrael. When did it start falling? So the pasuk says it was on the 15th of
ER.
Iyar,
Mhm.
as Rashi points out. The pasuk says so. Where did the pasuk go?
Because they had matzah. Is that why? They had matzah for when they left.
So the Gemara is going to say that they had food, right? But here it says, "B'chamisha asar yom l'chodesh hasheni." Here's the pasuk that they came to Midbar Sin. B'chamisha asar yom l'chodesh hasheni. And then it says that they started complaining there's no food, and Hashem said, "I'm giving you one." The one started in the first year. The one started on the 15th of Iyar, the second month, and it went and they ate it until we said now the 16th of Nisan in the 40th year. So there's 1 month missing. So why did you say they ate it 40 years? In the pshat level, it's okay. You could say 40 years if it's 1 month missing. The
You could say
pshat is
round it
good.
off.
The pshat is
Round
good.
it off, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
If in the
of
pshat
course.
level, it's okay. But the more the drash is going to say that it's exactly. It's true that they had the matzah, but the Gemara is bothered that it's not enough to say because it says they ate the month for 40 days. You're saying that they didn't eat it, okay? But the Maisa, they only ate it for 40 years minus 30 days. So the Gemara has to fit the man into here. So the Gemara says that they tasted man in the matzah.
What?
Ugo showed Siyam in Mitzrayim, Tamu ben Taman. It tasted like man. Why does the Torah
The
say they
matzah that they
took
ate,
out of
that they
Mitzrayim
brought out.
and it lasted for 30 days? It tasted like man.
That's, so that's not man.
It's not man. It tasted like man.
So they said it.
So they ate man.
It's called. You can call it the taste man. You buy chocolate ice cream and then you look read in the ingredients. It says chocolate flavoring, right? Well, it has a flavoring. It doesn't always mean. So if it says that they ate man, it could also mean tam man also.
Okay.
That was the second verse. So
Tam.
we had something in the end and the beginning. The end, the last 33, the last like 6 weeks, they ate man, but it wasn't falling. It stopped falling on Zayin Adar, and it had supplies still from the man till the 16th of Nisan. And the Gemara says something about the beginning of the 40 years, that the first 30 days, it even though there wasn't man, didn't start falling yet, but it tasted like man. Tani Ida, now another brisa that's
They
also
could have just said you could round it off, right?
yeah. The
This
Pashut
is
Pshat is fine.
different,
Pashut Pshat is fine.
Okay.
We're in the Drush world. It's
Tani
two truths. Tani Ida, another brisa. B'Shiva B'Adar Meis Moshe, B'Shiva B'Adar Nola. Everybody knows this. That Moshe was born on the 7th of Adar and he died on the 7th of Adar. How do you know?
That was only the Haman story from Mordechai.
But okay, how do you know? How do you know? That's how you know. That's how we know. But how does the
Because he
Gemara know?
was a tzaddik? I don't know.
What?
Because he was a tzaddik?
That's not a reason for 7th of Adar. That's only if you know that he was born, he died on the same day. That's what you want to say. That, but you don't know that it was 7th of Adar. How do you know it was 7th of Adar?
Didn't we know one of them?
How do we know one of them?
Okay. I
That's the
don't know.
Gemara. We start off with when he died. And then we're gonna go back to when he was born.
Okay.
Shenema. Vayam Hashem Moshe ben Hashem. Pasuk says Moshe died. Vayivku b'nei Yisrael as Moshe v'avos ma'ov shloshim yom. Pasuk says that they cried for Moshe's 30 days. So from the time of his death, 30 more days. Vayachrei Mos Moshe ben Hashem. Moshe avdi meis. But the Gemara brings all the psukim that we're going to put them all together, and we'll see when Moshe.
Who said
Died.
Moshe Abdi Mace?
Hashem. Hashem said to Yoshua.
Uh-huh.
It says, after Moshe died, so Hashem said to Yoshua, Moshe, the one skips a couple of words.
Yeah.
It says, Hashem said to Moshe, Moshe avdi meis, v'ata kum avor, and now come, rise and cross the Yarden. And the Gemara is taking that it means right after the 30 days that were up, Hashem told Yoshua, cross the Yarden. And then it says, another pasuk, if you b'karv ha'machaneh v'savu asam le'mor v'chinu lachem tzeidah ki bo shloshes yomim tarvu asay atem ovrim asay yarden. That Yeshua told the people, to the shluchim, he told the people to go pass through the camp and tell the people that get ready for provisions because in another 3 days we're going to cross the Yarden. And the Gemara takes it right after the 30 days. 30 days, Moshe died, 30 days passed. Hashem told Moshe to go cross the Yarden. Yeshua told the people 3 more days we're going to cross the Yarden.
It'd be 33 days.
33. Uchsiv. But now, when did they Lamaisa cross the Yarden? Uchsiv, another pasuk. that they came out of the Yarden on the 10th of Nisan. So we know that they crossed the Yarden on the 10th of Nisan and go back 33 days. That's the 7th of Adar. Moshe, here's take it off 33 days in retrospect, from when they crossed, and you get the 7th of Adar. That's how you know that Moshe died on Zayin Adar. Everyone knows. How does everybody know? Because it is drash. It's also a drash. I would say it's a drash because in the Pashup Shad it doesn't have to happen mamish after 30 days. Right away, Hashem said, right away to 3 days. But the Gemara takes it literally, and therefore we know that Moshe Rabbeinu died on the 7th of Adar. How do you know he was born on the 7th of Adar? How do you know? Shenemar, because he says that he lived the full 120 years. Moshe said, I'm 120 years today, and I cannot go in and out. I'm not able to anymore. We could have left out the word hayom. We could have said, I'm 120. Why does it say hayom? To say that it was mamish today. Today was his birthday. That Hashem fills their days and years from complete. From day to day, month to month means a full. So if Hashem say, if he said I'm 120, so Moshe Rabbeinu lived 120 years exactly. That's also a drash. Means in the Pashup Shot, it's also I'm 120 years. It doesn't have to be on the Pshat level. There's no raya that he would have a full year, but it's a drash level also. Here, everybody accepts it, right? Everybody knows that Moshe Rabbeinu's birthday is on the 20th. It's only because it is drash, and the Pshat level he wouldn't have any raya. I'm going to fulfill your days. I'll fill your days, so full days. So that was the proof that Moshe Rabbeinu was born on Zayin Adar because he died on Zayin Adar, and Hashem gave him a full. Here you have 2 psukim, one in general that Hashem says about tzaddikim that they're going to have full days. But Moshe Rabbeinu it says specifically, I'm 120 days, 120 years old today. So the today is the extra word to be mashma. The today was his birthday. So we finished the parentheses. Also, the subject was about Chadash. Were they allowed to eat Chadash when they came into Eretz Yisrael? Machlokis. Some say that only after Yerusha B'Shiva is it aser, so they were allowed to eat Chadash. And some say that there's no such thing. The word Moshe Vasechem just means that it's us and Chos Laretz also, and they were Asat Eid Chadash, and that's why they waited until the Omer. If they didn't have to wait for the Omer, why did they wait till the 16th? Because Hashem made that it shall last until the 16th of Nisan. If that's good, we continue, new subject, which is back to the subject about Chadash, Kalayim, and Orla, which is the 3 exceptions that it says in the Mishnah, that even though it's agricultural laws, it also applies in Chos Laretz. Tanya, Shem ben Yochai Yomer, Shalosh Mitzvahs is Avi Yisrael B'Knei Sas and Laretz. There were 3 mitzvahs that Am Yisrael was commanded when they came into Eretz Yisrael, and these are going to be the 3 mitzvahs that we have Chadash, Kalayim, and Orla. The Noah goes Ben Boaz Ben B'Chos Laretz, that they apply even in Chos Laretz, even though it's in the Chiddush even though it's a mitzvah Tluy Baretz, still it applies even in Chos Laretz. Rashi says, what does it mean they were commanded coming into Eretz Yisrael? Because all these halachas about planting and food that grows, they technically didn't have in the midbar because they didn't plant anything in the midbar. So it wasn't that they only commanded; it could have been they were chayv in Chos Laretz also. But it only was relevant when they came into Eretz Yisrael. The huadin sheyinegu, and it's makes sense, means it's proper, it's understandable why it applies even in Chos Laretz. And I was going to say, as far how do you know that Chadash is Chadash Klayim and Orla apply also in Chos Laretz? So Chadash was the machlokis. That was the machlokis in the Mishnah, if it's chayiv in Chos Laretz or not. And this brisa Rishim Bar Yochai also holds like a Belazar that it applies in Chos Laretz. And we said it because he holds Moshe Vasechem means B'chol Makom She'atem Yoshvim. That's the pasuk. If you hold Moshe Vasechem means wherever you live, so that's the source to say that Chadash applies even in Chos Laretz. And now we're going to learn out from there to Kalayim and Orla. Uma Chadash she'ein yisur yisur olam ve'ein yisur yisur cha'ana v'yesh heter liyisura noeg bein boras bein b'chos laretz Kalayim she'yisur yisur olam v'yisur nisur ana ve'ein heter liyisura enodin shinegu bein boras bein b'chos laretz. It says a kal v'chomer. We're taking Chadash as a given. Chadash is a given that it applies in the Chos Laretz because of the pasuk of Moshe Vasechem, and now we're going to make a kal v'chomer to Kalayim. What are the 3 things? Chadash has 3 leniencies, and still it applies in the Chos Laretz. So kal v'chomer is something that doesn't have those 3 leniencies. What are the 3 leniencies? First of all, Ein Yisur Yisur Olam. It's not forever. When is Yisur of Chadash? Only until the 16th of Nisan. So it's not forever. The Chadash, this food that grew, it's not for permanent Yisur. It's all temporary until the 16th of Nisan. That's one kula. And also, any surah is no. It is not bana. The chadash, even when it's chadash, even before the 16th of Nisan, it's just asr to eat, but you're allowed to have benefit from it. And a third leniency, yeshat surah. There's a way to get out of the isser. Even within the 16th of Nisan, there's a way to get out of the isser, and that is, Rashi says, by bringing the korban omer. If you don't bring the korban omer, it's asr the whole day of the 16th. Only on the 17th is going to become mutter. But if you bring the korban omer, then it's mutter even on the 16th. So that's a way to get out of the isser, even when the isser is there.
We're
So
talking about the Isser, the rabbinic Isser.
why do you say rabbinic? You're saying Chodesh is
I
also
thought we
mutter?
wait till the 17th because we're not sure when the 16th is. But we're not sure if you brought the Omer yet, or am I going too far?
Too far, just without sfekis. It's also the whole day,
It's also the whole day on the 16th.
on the 16th. But if you bring the Omer in the middle of the day, so then it's mutter already from then. Now you're talking about a case where if you don't know something, if you don't know if they brought the Omer, or if
Well, I
you
thought,
you don't know
like
which day is the
today, I thought we
16th,
wait till the 17th
because we don't have the Omer.
because we can't bring it.
You don't have the Omer nowadays. If you have the
Oh,
Omer,
only
then
the
it
basement just were brought.
was standing and you have brought the Omer, then it's mutter. But if you don't bring the Omer, then it's also the whole day.
Okay.
So this Chodesh, which has three leniencies, still knowing bein bars bein b'chosloretz, it still applies in the chosloretz. How do you know? Because we say Moshe Vosechem means even in chosloretz. Now goes the Kal V'chomer. Kalayim doesn't have these three leniencies. Yisura Yisur Olam, Yisura Nisur No, Einet El Yisura. It's forever. What does it mean? Kalayim. If you planted kalayim, so it's also
It
forever.
never goes. Yeah.
And Yisura Nisur No, it's even also bana. Rashi brings a pasuk Tuktash Shamalaya that it becomes also. If things grow with the kalayim, crossbreed the grapes and tua, so they become asabana also. And also ein heter lisu, and there's no way to get the iser off. There's nothing to do to get the iser off. Once it's aser, it's aser. So it has three chumras that chadash doesn't have. And odin sheyina guba bein boas bein b'chuslaris. Chal v'chomer that applies even in
Well, I'm
chuslaris.
sorry, we're talking about produce here.
Produce of kalayim that grew with a crossbreed. You bred, you have together the grapes going together with grain. So it's usher forever, and there's no way to get rid of the usher.
Wait, the grapes and the
And the
grain
tua,
grew
grow-
together,
Right, so they become usher.
but it's still grain and it's still grapes.
But it's grain that grew together with grapes, so it becomes usher.
I said, I see.
It
You can't
becomes
take the grain out.
No,
and then it becomes-
once it grew, you could take it out before it starts growing. But if it's growing together, once it grew together,
and
then
you
it's
take it
usher.
out, it's still us.
It's usher, and you have to burn it. It's not even. It's also even by now.
So
So
it
the
has,
usher doesn't expire.
chumras.
It's Isser Olam, but doesn't expire.
So it has all the
Isra,
chumras.
no? And so then surely it applies to Choslavitz also. Well, then Orla b'shtayim. So Kalayim has three Kal V'chomers, three issues that it has more chomer than Chadash. And if Chadash is Aser, Kal V'chomer Kalayim. Orla doesn't have all three; it has 2 out of the 3.
Because eventually you can use it.
So that's the question. So Rashi says, I think like you. Rashi says it expires. That the Isra expires after 3 years.
After 3 years, yeah.
Tais has a kasha on that because this expires from the tree, but this doesn't expire from the fruit. Any fruit that grew during the 3 years is also forever. So Tais has a kasha on Rashi that it doesn't expire. So maybe like you said that it expires from the tree becomes mutter. Tais talks about that. But we'll say Rashi and say the kasha. So Rashi says that you have 2 out of 3 because it is aser bana. Arla is also aser bana. And there's no way to make arla fruit to become mutter.
Recording in progress.
It seems like even 1 out of 3 is enough, isn't it?
Could be, but it says arla happens to have 2 out of 3.
Uh-huh.
Klaim has 3 chumras over chadash. Arla has 2 chumras over chadash. So if chadash is aser, even in choslavitz, kal v'chomer klaim and arla. Before the Gemara mentioned earlier that about Allah Moshe Messina, here it says about both of them that they are kal v'chomer. And the end of that point of Rabbi Shem Bar Yochai. So what had happened so far? He agreed to Rabbi Lazar and our Mishnah Chodesh is Aser, and he learned out from there also to Kalayim and Orla. It happens to be interesting that even the Mandama that says the Chodesh is not Aser, which is our Mishnah, Tanakama and our Mishnah, he also Kalayim is Orla is Aser, which you can have to have a different source. This source is assuming Chodesh is Aser, so then you can make a Kalachom with the Kalayim and Orla. Our Mishnah held that Chodesh is mutter and still held Kalayim and Orla is Aser. So you're going to have to find a different source for that. But this Bryce is good. That if you hold Chodesh is Aser, because Moshe Vosechem means even Choslavetz, so then Kalayim and Orla is surely going to be Aser because of Kal V'chomer, either a triple Kal V'chomer or a double Kal V'chomer. New point. That was Rabbi Shimon Yochai. Now goes his son, Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Shimon Omer, and we turn the page. Not exactly the same subject as we spoke about till now. Kol mitzvah. Kol mitzvah. Shenisav Yisrael kodem knisas on la'aretz. Nagas bein boras bein b'chos la'aretz. Any mitzvah Dam Yisrael was commanded to keep before they came into Eretz Yisrael. Rashi puts in the word to keep. Here's the Rashi top line. Kol mitzvah Sham Yisrael la'anhiga, to conduct themselves with it, which is another way of saying, Rashi says, that has nothing to do with the land. A mitzvah that Am Yisrael was commanded to conduct themselves with before they came into Eretz Yisrael, that applies even in Chos Loretz, which is the regular rule of the Mishnah, that a mitzvah shebaguf, if it's not Tluya Boretz, it's not the agricultural law, so then it applies even in Chos Loretz. If it's agricultural law, then in general it only applies in Eretz Yisrael. So here's the Mishnah, here's the Brisa says the same thing. Any mitzvah that Am Yisrael was commanded to keep it before they came into Eretz Yisrael, so it applies even in Chos Loretz, because it's a Chovos HaGuf. It has to do with the body, it doesn't have to do with the land. But if a mitzvah was commanded to keep after it came into Eretz Yisrael, because it is a land-related mitzvah, it's a Tluya Boretz, and in Negas El Boretz, then it only applies in Eretz Yisrael, which is mamish the cloud that the Mishnah said that something which is Chovas Haaretz, Tluya Boretz applies only in Eretz Yisrael, and if it's not, it applies in Chos Loretz. Very nice. But here there becomes a little confusion. It says Chus Ben Hashmatas Ksafim L'Shiluach Havadim. Two exceptions. That even though it is dependent on the land, it applies even in Chos Loretz. So we're looking now, we're expecting to see two exceptions that are going to be land related. And surprise, they're not land related. That's a problem. It says with the exception of Hashmatas Ksafim. Hashmatas Ksafim means that all loans are canceled by Shemitah. Shemitah, not Shemitah of the Hashmatas Ksafim, that all the loans are canceled. And Shiluach Havadim, the lacha that you have to send away the slaves by Yovel.
I understand. So if it's not by Shemitah, what is it? The loans.
Yeah, it is by Shemitah. But it says here that even though it's a land-related mitzvah, it applies even in the Chos Loretz. It says any mitzvah which is not land, which is land related,
It's only going to be in the land.
is only in the land, with two exceptions: that the loans get canceled, even though it's land related, and sending
Land related because it's the Shemitah year.
So that's the kasha. So Levi Yaakov is asking, why is it land related? He's trying to figure out the answer already. Why is it land related? It's not land related. Money's in your pocket. Money doesn't grow on trees. It's not land related. So that's going to be the Gemara's kasha. That doesn't make sense. It says here that Shemitah Ksafim is land related, and it's an exception. Even though it's land related, it still applies even to Chos Loretz. What's land related about Shemitah Ksafim?
Because of the word Shemitah.
Okay, but that's not enough. Maybe if it has nothing.
The only reason they're being released is because you're letting the land be released.
Is that true? Could it possibly be that Shemitah Ksafim is not related? That every seventh year the loans get canceled, even though there wouldn't be a din of Shemitah Karka, maybe. You're saying they're saying it's a common word, semantics, that it's also called Shemitah, but it just means to let go. So you have to go let go of the land, you have to let go of the money. So who says that it's related? Maybe every seventh year you have to let go of all your loans, and it's not land related. The Gemara is going to talk about this. The Gemara is going to be bothered. Why do you call it land related? The land is the Shemitah on the land is land related. That you're not allowed to keep the fruit, you have to be mafkir, you're not allowed to work the land. That's a land related mitzvah, only applies in Eretz Yisrael. But the Shemitah Ksafim, that you have to let go of all the loans, why is that called land related? The Gemara is going to be bothered. The Gemara maybe will say what you say. We'll see in a minute.
Okay.
So this is an exception to the rule.
Because it's time related.
It's money related. It has to do with the money and the time, right? Nothing to do with the land. Maybe we would say
the time is
the time is the seventh year. Well, there happens to be another mitzvah. There happens to be another mitzvah on the seventh year to not work the land. But what's that have to do with the money?
If somebody gives a loan in the second year,
yes,
it's not going to go released in the next second year.
In the seventh year, right? So the seventh year of the cycle of Shemitah.
Not 7 years later.
Right. So why does that mean?
So it's not that it's every 7 years. It's only because of.
So that's the way that's
cycle,
the way you count the Shemitah cycle, but that doesn't mean that the mitzvah is a din in the land. It's not something that has to do with the land. It's not agricultural law. The way you count the Shemitah has to do with the agriculture. But that's only if you have a calendar, you just count the years. Maybe the Gemara is going to say close to what you're saying. Maybe that's what you mean to say. And the second thing is Shiluach Havadim, that you have to send the slaves free on by Yovel. And also that needs explanation. It says here that that's land related, It's land related, and even though it's land related, it applies even to Chosloretz. One might ask, why is it land related? Sending away a
Because the money
slave,
was not- no. Okay.
an evidence not land, the money's not land. So that's going to be the Gemara's kasha, but that's what the Brisa says, that it's an exception. Even though it's a land-related mitzvah, it applies even in the Chosloretz. Ad kan the Brisa, that was Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon. Now the Gemara analyzes it and asks kashas, and it's going to ask these two kashas. It's highlighted in pink as a kasha. Gufi. It's not a land-related mitzvah. It's a body-related mitzvah, personal mitzvah, and therefore, of course, it applies even to Chosloretz. And the Gemara is going to ask soon the next kasha, also in a couple of 10 lines, that Shiluach Avadim is also Chovas HaGuf. Both of these exceptions, the Gemara is going to attack, challenge. So the Gemara answers, Lo nitzvah ela lechanatanya. The reason why it has to say it is because of the following verse. The Tanya Rebbe Omer, Bezeh Devar Shmita Shamot. That's the pasuk. Find it on the. Where's the pasuk over here? Here it is. Bezeh Devarim 15:2. Zeh Devar Shmita. This is the issue of Shmita. Shamot really come after the word Zeh Devar Shmita kama. Shamot Kabal Mashe Yado Ashe Hashem Re'eh. Any creditor should release his loan. Well, you go says Re'eh Besachid Ki Kivash Shmita Hashem. He shouldn't trust his man, his fellow man, his brother, because it is called. I'm not sure. Kikara. There's a release. It's a release for Hashem. You release. Hashem said to release. So it says Zeh Devar Shmita. This is the issue of Shmita Shamot. This is the issue of Shmita's Ksafim, to let go, to release all loans. So the fact that it's a double term, the pasuk is referring to two shmitos. One is called shmitas karka, and one is shmitas ksafim. Achas shmitas karka, achas shmitas ksafim. One is the lacha that you're not allowed to use the land; you have to let go of the land. The other one is you have to let go of your money, of your loans. Why does it put it all together? The pasuk is only talking about shmitas ksafim over here. Why does the pasuk refer also to the shmitas karka? The answer is a halacha. Bisman shatam meshamet karka, atam meshamet ksafim. Bisman sheyatam meshamet karka, yatam meshamet ksafim. It's a little bit more than Levi Yaakov said. Levi Yaakov said that it's the way the calendar goes is when it has to do with the karka. The Gemara is saying that it's really halachically dependent. That if there is no shmita on the karka for whatever reason, it's not going to be shmita ksafim either. The halacha of shmita's karka. Let's say whatever shmita only applies under certain conditions, when the kedushas aras, things like that. So nowadays, let's say Shemitah's karka is only Rabbanan. So then Shemitah's ksafim is also only Rabbanan. The pasuk depended one on the other. They're dependent. That the pasuk made that the only chayav Shemitah. It's not like I said that it's irrelevant. The Shemitah's karka, Shemitah's ksafim has to be. That happens to be the same year, but it's nothing to do with each other. No, this Madhyama holds that you only chayav Shemitah's ksafim if you also chayav Shemitah's karka.
And this is addressed because of the double
lashon, right? Shemitah, right? Rashi tells us when is the case where there's no shmitas karka. He says midbar before they came into Eretz Yisrael, after they were left Eretz Yisrael, they're exiled. So there's no shmitas karka. So then there's no shmitas ksafim. If the kedushas aretz, so then there's no halacha.
When the majority of the Jews are in the land, also
I think so. Maybe
less than a majority. It's not.
See, and they don't have kedushas aretz. I think I'm not sure if it's dependent on that, but you have to have kedushas aretz. You have to have the land should be holy, and if there's no holiness on the land, whatever the case might be, and there's no shmitas ksafim either. So therefore, it is considered land related
Because it's linked.
Right.
Not that it is.
Not that it goes on. Not that the money still doesn't grow on trees, but it's
linked to the
halacha,
land
right? And
because of
therefore,
the-
it's a chiddush that even though it's a land related mitzvah, it still applies even in choslarins.
Okay.
The master kasha, how can we dash in that way? The ema, the mokom, there's a kasha. Instead of saying bisman, here we
Be'ema
said
would be why?
no. Let me say.
Oh,
Let me say. The word here we have the word bisman. The Gemara is going to focus on the word here. It says we dash in bisman. Bisman sheyatam b'shamet kaki yatam b'shamet ksafim. The Gemara says who told you bisman? The dress is a nice drasha. Shmita shamatayim b'mokom shatam b'shamet kaki yatam b'shamet ksafim. B'mokom sheyatam b'shamet kaki yatam b'shamet ksafim. Why not dash in the drasha differently and say that the first law is potter from shmitas ksafim? Because maybe it goes together. It's so related that only in a place where you hire a place, Eretz Yisrael, a place which is higher than shmitas karka, over there you have to let go of the loans. But in Choslarus where there's no din of shmitas karka, maybe there's no din of shmitas ksafim, and come out according to that Choslarus really is potter from shmitas ksafim. Tamud lomar ki kol shmita Hashem mikol mokom. Another pasuk at the end of the pasuk says that a shmita. So it's saying another pasuk shmitas ksafim is all over. That's how you know that shmita applies. That shmitas ksafim applies even in Choslarus. So that's what the Brisa meant, that it's an exception. Even though it's a land-related mitzvah, And you could make it very related and say b'makom. No, the pasuk puts it together and is considered land related, but it's still chayiv even in chutz la'aretz.
What is this pasuk? What's the context? Of
The same pasuk as he had on the side, the same here it is
Yeah.
on the screen. The context is Shmitas Ksafim.
Oh.
And it ends off,
Because
because he called, I'm not sure how you read the pasuk after we see the definition,
a
because
release
Hashem
position.
called that it should be a Shemitah Hashem. Hashem announced that it should be a release.
Somehow that means everywhere.
It's extra pasuk. It didn't have to say it. They could have said that don't collect the loans, period. It could have stopped here. So it says extra pasuk to say that even in chutz la'aretz. And the Bryce also continued that sending away avodim is also an exception, because even though it's land related, it still applies even in chutz la'aretz. And the kasha is, who says it's land related? Shiluach avodim, chovas gufi. It's a personal related. It has to do with the person. Doesn't have to do with the land. So of course it applies even in chutz la'aretz. Why is the Bryce call it a land related mitzvah? The answer is, you should call out freedom in the land. So you might say Ba'aretz means in Eretz Yisrael. The Perish Pasuk says that it only applies in Eretz Yisrael. You're right, that it's not a land related, but the Pasuk calls it a land related. You should call out freedom in the land. Which land? Eretz Yisrael. Ba'aretz in B'chutz la'aretz lo. You might think that Dafka applies in Eretz Yisrael. Talmud Lomer, extra Pasuk. Yovel he. Another Pasuk comes to say that it's Yovel, Jubilee, that it applies all over. That Shiluach Havadim, you're supposed to send away your slaves even if you're on chutz la'aretz. So the question is, why does the Taka say Ba'aretz? Imkein Matam Aloma Ba'aretz, extra pasuk. The answer is man shad draw noig Ba'aretz, noig b'chutz la'aretz. Ein draw noig Ba'aretz, ein noig b'chutz la'aretz. When they send away slaves in Eretz Yisrael, then you have to send away slaves in the chutz la'aretz. But if there's a reason why you don't send away slaves in Eretz Yisrael, Rashi says the case would be if there are. What does Rashi say? No Rashi. When is there no sending away in Eretz Yisrael? When is there no Yovel? I guess when you have the rove of Am Yisrael is in Eretz Yisrael, that's when Yovel applies. So if there's no Yovel in Eretz Yisrael,
There's no Yovel.
when most of Am Yisrael is in Eretz Yisrael. What he said before, you mentioned it before he said about Shemitah, I think it has to do more with Yovel. But the Yovel doesn't apply only if you have your Kol Yoshvei
Only if.
most of Am Yisrael is in Eretz Yisrael. I think maybe I made a mistake, but that's the idea that there are times that Yovel doesn't apply in Eretz Yisrael, so then there's no din to send away avodim in the chutz la'aretz either. So again, we're happy that we have Madam that says that we have the three things: Chadash, Arla, Klein. All of them apply even in chutz la'aretz. This Madam was going that Chadash because it says Moshe V'Seichem. That's how we paskin. Question that most poskim or maybe only drop one, but most poskim hold that as a rice like a belezer that Moshe V'Seichem means even chutz la'aretz. And we had a couple chomer to Arla and Klein. This is the famous Mishnah that Nissen mentioned a couple of days ago, that it says, Tran Nasim, in the end of Masechah Orla, the last Mishnah Masechah Orla, Hachadash Hasim in the Torah B'chol Makom. That's mamish like we said Rabbi Lezer holds that Chadash is also even in chutz la'aretz. That we said Amish is a machlokis, but the Mishnah says without the machlokis, Chadash is also all over, even chutz la'aretz. Bin Torah. Orla is Allah Moshe Messina. I said a mistake. Orla is Allah. I said Allah Moshe Messina. That's going to be a question coming up in a second.
Okay.
But it says here Orla is Allah. Orla.
It says, that's both from a Jew and
Here it doesn't say that. Doesn't go into that. So yeah, Moshe is asking what if it was grown by a guy? Does that change the halacha? That's not a sugya. Here it says Chodesh, whatever Chodesh is also, it's also even in chutz la'aretz. Orla is not also min Torah; it's also halacha, even in chutz la'aretz. And Hakalayim is only midivrei sofrim. So it says here that all three of them apply even in chutz la'aretz, but different levels. Chodesh is min Torah, Orla is halacha, and Kalayim is midrabanan. L'chora means midrabanan. And that Gemara asked on this Mishnah in Orla. What does halacha mean? My halacha, what does that mean? It says machlokis. Amar Yehuda Mishmuel, Hilchos Medina. That's the custom. Hilchos Medina means that's what society does. And it means that's the custom. People do it. Rashi? Hilchos Medina. What? Hilchos Medina. In the Gua Heim Alein, the people took it upon themselves. The people took it upon themselves to conduct themselves with this halacha. Medina means like chevra, like society. Society acts that way.
Wearing a kippah, men wearing a kippah.
Like wearing a kippah, like that's the
minhag.
minhag. But this is more halachic. That they made the took upon kippah is not such halacha. But this is a custom that they took on to answer themselves in Orla, even chutz la'aretz. Okay, but this is Orla. This is like even more. And this is that they took on this Orla even in chutz la'aretz.
Okay.
And
In other words, it's rabbinic.
it's even it could be even less than
No,
rabbinic.
it's less than,
People, it
no,
could be
then
the
it
people.
would be divrei sofer.
The people
That's
that
what I'm
divrei
saying.
sofer means that the divrei sofer means that the rabbanon said do such and such, and this means people started doing it,
People
people
started
started-
doing it, and
people
then
did
it
it.
became the accepted practice.
and somebody that was Shmuel said that. Ula Rabbi Yochanan halach al Moshe Messina. That is a real halach al Moshe Messina. That makes that as the rice also. I mean, a Torah means that it's a pasuk. This is not or a drasha from a pasuk. Halach al Moshe Messina means that there's no pasuk, but it's mamish Hashem's word.
Uh-huh.
So machlokas, what does it mean? Orla and chutz la'aretz. Omalei Ula, the Rav Yehuda.
They
These
were
are
in
the-
Israel at this point, and once they came in with Yeshua, so we didn't have that question.
I'm not following.
Then you're saying they followed Orla and Chutzlar.
We're talking about chutz la'aretz. Yeah, Orla chutz la'aretz. We didn't talk about anything. We didn't talk about earlier. We said halach. We said a Avrohom. So it was Shmuel and Rabbi Yochanan, but Rav Yehuda quoted Shmuel and Ula quoted Rabbi Yochanan. And now the two Talmidim, Rav Yehuda and Ula, having a discussion. Omalei Ula, Rav Yehuda. You're saying in the name of Shmuel that it's Hilchos Medina. It's not even. It's totally not that Raisa. Maybe there are less than Rabban. Bishlam the according to me, I got from my Rebbe that it's Lachal Moshe Messinai, Tamina Lachal Moshe Messinai. So the following Mishnah is going to make sense. Hainu the Shani Lam in Suffolk Orla Suffolk Lion. That's why we find the difference between Suffolk Orla Suffolk Lion. Suffolk we're saying that Kalayim it says is Rabbanon. Suffolk Lion and Orla we have Machlokus now is the Raisa Rabbanon. I'm saying that is the Raisa, and the name Rabbi Yochanan. You're saying that is Rabbanon or less.
Uh-huh.
So according to me, it makes sense that we're going to find in a second that Orla is more chomer than Kalayim. Suffolk Orla is going to be Asar somehow, and more Asar than Suffolk Kalayim. And that's going to, but according to you, everything should be at Rabbanon, everything should be at Rabbanon level. It shouldn't be that Orla should be more chomer. Here goes the kasha, the Tnan. So I highlighted the part we're looking for. There's going to be a Yored Velo Keach and a Yored Velo Kate. That's going to be the point that we're going to focus on. Try to what am I doing here? Why is it not listening?
And what's
Okay.
the one is to take?
Yored Velo Keach, and here a couple of days ago, I'm David mentioned it, that it's not Mamish there, it's Yisrael, keep a shachid. No, comma. Suffolk all of Ba'aretz, Asa, comma.
Oh, thank you. That's awesome.
I lost my screen. Suffolk Arla Ba'aretz also. The
Surya is right
Surya
next to
Mutta.
it. Right?
But the question is if it's Eretz Yisrael or not. So it's not our subject, but Surya is Kibbutz Shachar. It's not considered Eretz Yisrael, only Rabbanan. So therefore, Suffolk is Mutter. The Chutz La'aretz Yored V'lo Keach. And Chutz La'aretz is even more lenient than Surya, that you could go into the field, into the orchard that has also Arla trees and buy from the seller over a bunch of to buy.
You can go down into the orchard and buy.
And just as long as you don't see the person taking it off the Arla tree. You know that there are Arla trees over there. Here's Rashi.
You don't see him picking it from the tree.
Right, so you're not, it says as long as you're not sure that it's
know
Arla.
that. I see.
Rashi says Yored Yisrael, and he takes from the guy who's collecting from a orchard that has over there also Arla trees. He has Arla, non-Arla, and the guy and the Jew knows that he's going there and taking it from there. You let it go into the field and buy from the guy. You don't know which tree he took it from, as long as you don't see he took it from the Arla tree. As long as you don't see that he took it from the Arla tree.
Well, that's
Okay, big leniency. That's by Arla.
So what did it mean? Besurya mutar meant b'diavad?
Right. Rashi says over there it's talking
Because
about.
this sounds lechatchila.
Rashi says over there means that it's already collected in the basket, but that's not going in. Right. That's lechatchila. This is if it's in the basket already, you're allowed to buy stuff, but you don't go into the orchard. You know that there's Arla over there.
Yeah.
It's a more serious suffix, and that's also what they're in Chutz La'aretz.
Mhm.
So that's as far as suffix Arla in Chutz La'aretz. Now we're going to compare it to Kalayim. If you look up Kalayim Tanan, by Kalayim, we're also going to be making in. There's going to be Eretz Yisrael, Surya, and Chutz La'aretz. But let's see what it says. Kerem anatua yerek v'yerek nimka chutzala. I couldn't make the pinkets all together. It's not a separate sentence, just like the computer didn't let me connect the line over there. But there's a kerem that has also vegetables, means if it will be growing to, that in this field, in this kerem, there's climb growing over there, because you see that there are vegetables growing amongst the vines. And someone's selling vegetables right outside the kerem, very suspicious. It's very possible he got the vegetables from that climb that's growing vegetables inside the kerem. So ba'aretz aser. And it's well, you wouldn't be allowed to buy such a vegetable. Someone standing where the vegetables stand outside a kerem that has vegetables growing in it, very possibly got the vegetables from there. So you wouldn't be allowed. It's a suffix climb. In other words, it's a suffix climb.
What was the futsal?
Outside the kerem. You see a kerem, and you see somebody selling vegetables right outside, and you look inside the kerem, you see vegetables growing all over the place in between the kerem. So you see that. So if that happens, as well as also the Surya mutar, because it's not the rice, it's Rabbana. Plus, Laura is even more lenient than Surya. Yored will locate. Wow, that's even more. You're allowed to go and even gather yourself from the vegetables inside the kerem. It sounds like it's come out, for sure. Rashi says, Yored the goy could go to the climb, and you know that he took it from there, as long as you don't take it by yourself. Rashi says, you shouldn't take it yourself, but the goy could take it. So you suffer. It's not even a suffer climb; it's a valley climb.
A guy could take it and then you buy it from the guy.
Right. So that's a big leniency.
Yeah.
So now, Rabbi Ula's middle of talking, he's saying that I understand, according to my shot that I got from Rabbi Yochanan, that Orla is Allah Moshe Messina and Kalayim is the Rabbanan, so that I could understand how come the Mekel and Choslar is by Kalayim more than Orla. What do we see here? Suffolk Orla, Yord Velokeach. Suffolk Kalayim, Yord Velokate. So that makes sense according to me. But according to you, that halacha means halacha Medina, everything's Rabbanan. So why are we more machmir by Suffolk Orla than we are by Suffolk Kalayim? Ella, oh, that's good according to me. Ella ledidach, bottom word. But according to you, that everything's Rabbanan, they should be the same thing. They're both old Rabbanan. How come you machmir by Orla? Ella ledidach, top of the page. Nisni ozev v'zeyod v'lokeach. Ozev v'zeyod v'lokeach. They should be consistent. Both of them should either say lokeach. Both of them should say locate. How come one says lokeach, one says locate? The answer is, he told him, Amalei Shmuel Ravanan, Tani, ozev v'zeyod v'lokeach, ozev v'zeyod v'locate. You're right. Is a mistake in the girsa. They should learn the correct version should be either both of them should say lokeach, both of them should say locate. There's not no difference.
It's true that
it's true that they're both right. According to me, that's both of them, they're all the same. Yashik Kochachim. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Tomorrow is Thursday.
What time?
What time do everybody like?